Have you ever heard of functional medicine or even holistic healing? Well, if you have, then you realize this isn't being talked about nearly as much as it should. Let me read you this stat that might give you a better idea. From 2015 to 2018, 13.2% of Americans, all Americans over 18 years old, reported taking medication in the past 30 days, specifically antidepressant medication. But this applies to all different types of ailments and conditions and all these different things that we're facing on a daily basis, whether it's stress or anxiety or depression. So many people immediately move towards the medication side of things, not because they know that's the best way to go, but that's because of what we've been conditioned as a society to move to. But if you know someone, maybe you are someone who is currently on medication of some sort for your condition. If I asked a room of people, raise your hand if you know someone who's still experiencing that condition, even after taking medication, I can practically guarantee almost the entire room would put their hands up, say that they're taking antidepressants, but they're still depressed. They're taking stress reduction medication, but they're still stressed. They're still anxious. They're doing all these things to treat their diabetes, but nothing seems to be working and they don't know what to do. Check it out. Today is going to be a controversial conversation, right? And when I met Dr. Kim, she's even like, Brandon, this is a controversial subject. And I said, I understand, but people need to hear how they can live a better life holistically with the resources and with the power that you already have. And we're going to dive into that today. So be sure to share this show with someone who is facing any of these conditions or ailments or anything that they want to change in their life without the use of medications or pills or anything like that. We're going to talk about natural healing and functional medicine today with Dr. Kim. So without further ado, for those who don't know Dr. Kim Martin, for her entire life, Dr. Kim has pursued and benefited from her belief in the power of natural medicine. Since receiving her doctorate certification in chiropractic medicine, she has driven towards functional medicine. She specializes in holistic health approaches designed to deliver the greatest quality of care for her patients. Dr. Kim, we made it happen.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Finally, it's been like
Yes.
months since we talked the first
Once
time.
we've spoken about this, but it's never too late to hear this information.
Yeah. And we were connected through Jay Tyler, and Jay's like, Brandon, you got to meet Dr. Kim. And I was like, well, tell me about her. And he's like, she's outgoing, she's energetic, but she's helping people on a giant scale. She's like, you actually remind me of kind of like what she's doing mission wise. So you definitely need to talk with her. And we did. And you blew my mind, not just with the surface of what I just mentioned with how you help people, but you know your stuff. Like 70% of what you talked about the first time we chatted, I probably seemed like I was understanding, but it was going over my head because you went deep into it. You know your stuff, but you know your stuff in the attempt to help other people, right? And today we're going to make it practical. But
Okay.
I guess my first question for you is, how would you describe to somebody who is completely new or alien to this topic, what is the idea of functional medicine?
Okay. So my background is I always knew that I wanted to be a doctor. I always knew I wanted to be helping people. The difference with me was not about could I, be an MD? It was how could I do what my vision and my gut tells me is not be pushing medications that I didn't really believe in. So way back early on, the word functional medicine wasn't even around 30 years ago. This is a new term. Now they're going to be changing it to talk about regeneration medicine, or but they're coming up with these different terms. But the main thing that we need to understand is if you see somebody, let's say a woman who carries a purse or a man who has a briefcase, and they always have that bottle of Tylenol or Advil or something like that inside. I have to look at them and say, you don't have a Tylenol deficiency. Why are we taking these pills? It becomes so much of a habit to be able to say, I have a symptom. It's a headache. Give me a pill. I have a symptom, a body ache. Give me a pill. And that's part of the problem, is that we're running towards that, what do you want to say? That way of trying to help the situation, and it's really not.
Yeah.
Side effects are horrible if people would start paying attention to what the potential of a side effect is versus what someone is trying to prescribe for them. Let me give you an example. I treat over the years thousands of patients who have diabetes. They have blood sugar issues, both men and women. Sometimes they're coming to me because they have managed their diabetes according to the MDs and they're taking their pills, but oops, now their pills went from one time a day to twice a day. Or even the pills aren't working anymore and now we're going to give you insulin. The moment you're put on, I'm going to just use metformin as an example because that's a very popular one. The moment you've been put on metformin, the usual thing to follow is high blood pressure and high cholesterol medication. Now, if you ask yourself, well, why am I taking that if I'm just a diabetic? It's because one of the side effects means that you will then have issues later on with high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So putting someone on a statin before they need it is not a healthy thing to do long term. The worst thing to do when I'm listening to a patient is I'm trying to do active listening. I'm trying to let them state what their issues are. But in their head, they're so programmed to think you're a diabetic, you're going to take this for the rest of your life. You have high cholesterol, this is going to be for the rest of your life. What we should be saying is, hey, everyone's body's different. What can we do to make your body start working better on its own so you don't have to rely on these kind of things? So many people are so scared when I say, let's talk to your MD. I'm not here to replace your MD. I'm not an MD. But I say, do you know what the side effects are with the medication that you're taking? Sometimes patients will go, and this is not uncommon. We have to laugh when I'll say, bring me your medication. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Bring me your medication so that I can see it, along with your supplements. They'll bring in one of those carriers on wheels like you would go to the airport, like a carry-on.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And sometimes it's got some of their protein, in there. Sometimes it's tons of supplements. And then all these medications. When I start putting things out, it is not uncommon for someone over the age of 60 to be on at least 8 medications.
Oh my God.
And when I say, well, why are you on this one? Well, my one doctor put me on this. And then I had the symptoms. So I went to another type of a doctor and they put me on this. And I said, yeah, but that's a side effect for that. Now we're getting into side effect medication and no one's speaking to each other. Sometimes patients are afraid to tell their doctors what they're taking or that they've gone to another doctor. Oh, I don't want to piss my doctor off. My doctor's so wonderful. And then I said this one patient one day, she kept ranting and ranting. And, oh, my doctor's beautiful. Oh, I love him, love him, love him. And I believe everything he has to tell me. And she brought me a stack of medical history, medical records from her. And it was things that I would have done. I said, I need to have a stool test. Let's look at your saliva. Let's check your adrenals. Oh, my doctor's done all that. Oh, he's done all that. And he's giving me XYZ. Do you still have the problem? Yes. We're not going deep enough. Let's figure this out. Bring me the stuff and let me look at it. So I asked for it, right? Thinking, oh, 1 or 2 pieces of paper, not a big deal. It was probably close to 250 sheets of paper. And I'm going through and I thought, okay, there's something missing here. So I said, there's a test that I love that it's a stool test. And I said, this test is going to be able to check the DNA of your stool to finally tell us what we keep masking over. Something keeps getting masked over because you still have all these signs and symptoms. She says, if my MD says that it's okay that I take your test, then I'll take it. This is the thing that I have to do to educate people all the time, because my background is chiropractic. My background is nutrition. My background is functional medicine and acupuncture. But not every patient needs everything that I do. But when I hear that, well, your education, I will go ahead and ask my MD if he thinks that it's important for me to take this test. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to pull my hair out and then I would look the same.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things where I can't get upset about it. I just have to turn it a little bit and say, okay, let's let's educate so that they can make the right choices. As long as you're making that choice that you want to be on 18 medications, then that's completely up to you. But don't give your power away for your health to someone else. Don't do that.
Yes.
And the other thing you have to look at is that medications, if we're talking about pharmaceutical medications are the pharmaceutical company are the ones inventing and creating and then telling the insurance companies, this is what we want you to be charging for this, and this is what we'll pay out. This is the allow. And then they go to the doctors and they say, this is what I want you to push on your patients if they have this condition. This is what I want you to push on your patients if you have that condition. There's no rhyme or reason to be able to say, hey, but wait, let's talk about how can we make the body work better? Because why? Because then we won't need their medication.
Yes.
So what I try and do naturally is I'm trying to get a patient's body to work better so that they don't need the metformin. So they don't need some of those other medications. They don't need to be on cholesterol medication. We can go into cholesterol here in a minute because I can get on a rant on that one about how many people are on statins that probably need to be paying more attention to what's the reason? What is your goal for being on a statin? But with functional medicine, to answer your question, functional medicine means that we are trying to look at different aspects of your health. Is that through your saliva? Is that through your blood? Is that through your stool? Is that through your ability to bend over and have functional ranges of all different things, to be able to then say, you're a special person, you're an individual, and because of your XYZ results, this is the type of a program, very specialized and personalized for each person. When I would do talks, I would have probably 80, let's say 85 people in the room. We used to do dinner talks, lunch talks. I got so frustrated doing a dinner talk because I would look around the room and there would be 12 tables and there would be families there. And I was there to do a talk about diabetes. And I was very specific. No bread at the table, no pop, no alcohol. I'm trying to give them and you have these people who are just not paying attention, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I need bread, I need a Coke, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm trying to save your life here. You're 300 pounds. We've got to reduce that. You're putting so much stress on your heart. I want you to live longer for your family. And you're staring at me like I'm the evil one here when I'm saying I'm trying to give you the good things. I want to feed your body right,
Yeah.
This is and they just don't want to listen. They're like, I'm managing my condition. I'm managing. My doctor is managing. And it's like, why do you want to shorten your life? What about quality of life? With all the inventions and everything that we have going on now, in a few years, it's not going to be unheard of for people to live 125.
Yes.
But why do you want the last 50 years to be miserable and in pain? I don't understand it. I really don't. So education, so important. So when I'm talking to anybody, and it doesn't matter, it could be somebody who's in high school, you want to set their goals up to be, how do you want to take care of yourself? Women, I used to eat anything when I was in my 20s and I was in my 30s. And then I had kids. And then now I can't lose weight. Well, you have to understand things, just like Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's. And by the way, dementia and Alzheimer's are actually type 3 diabetes. You're setting yourself up in your 20s and 30s. So it's not, oops, you're 55 and now you're going to have this diagnosis of diabetes. It's what we did to this is type 2, by the way. This is what we've done to ourselves because it's called adult onset, because it's years of just, taking care of our body a certain way. Our bodies are beautiful. They can respond. They are there to protect us. But when you keep giving it so much crap, it starts wearing down. You have to be able to look at that and say, wait a minute, if I had done boom, boom, boom earlier, I wouldn't have this issue. Or I get this, I'm half Hispanic. And they'd say, I'm Hispanic too. And all my family are diabetics. My grandmother, my brother, we're all going to be. Well, there's two looking at that. One is called epigenetics. What are you doing that is going to then change that? That's 75%. The other is genetics. Okay. My family, all, are diabetics. Does that mean that I have to be? No.
Yeah.
That means if you're following the same bad habits, well, of course, it could be exactly where you're heading. But does that mean that that's going to happen to you? Not at all. So we have to be able to put the responsibility back on the patient. And sometimes they don't want it. They don't want to be able to say, oh, I don't want to take responsibility. I want to go to work. I want to focus. I want to do this. I'm a CFO. I'm a CEO. I don't have time for that. Just give me a pill. That that's not quality. That's not
Yes.
quality of life. That is like you're burning the candle at both ends. For what? That doesn't make any sense. So we have to be able to just change the structure, change the conversation to be able to say, what are your goals? I don't want to set your goals for you. What are your goals? What would you like to be doing? What is something that, people talk about vision boards all the time. And I do not call them vision boards. To me, it's a decision board. You made a decision,
Oh.
you put that up there, then that's what you're going to do. A vision board is nothing but pictures. It's like, okay, that looks nice. Oh yeah, I like to go to the that's just pictures of something. But if you sit there in by yourself and you're doing your morning meditation and you're saying, my decision is I'm done feeling like this, or I'm done with whatever that decision is. If you want to move someplace different, if you want to have a different health outlook, if you want to start riding a bike 10 miles a week, or whatever that particular is, that's a decision. And when you nail it, that's when it goes on the board. So I do have my decision boards, and I look at it and I'm like, yep, I'm working on that now. Yep, that's what I'm working. And it's private. It's not like for me to show people or show off. Oh, this is what what my goals are. It's for me to be able to say, okay, get off your butt. What are you doing now? What's our next, our next goal? And it's all about baby steps. I could have 30 things on that, but I'm never gonna get to 30 right away. It's like
Yeah.
one little baby step, and then you celebrate that baby step. And then it's one other little baby step. Well, that's the same way I want to treat my patients. It's not about saying, I'm going to give you a list, Mrs. Smith, about all of these things that we're going to change for you. You're at 75 years old and you're going to be great about making all these changes. People don't want to make changes like that, at that age. So we have to be able to step back and go, what are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them be my goals, but what are your goals? And I'm going to help you get there. And let's make sure that health-wise, if you're wanting to have, longer life and better quality of life, what does that mean to you? Because it looks different for everybody. Everyone's going to be different. Genetics are important. Does that make you that forever? No. That's when we want to say, excellent, epigenetics. I looked at my brother. I looked at my sister. I looked at my grandmother. I looked whomever that you are saying, I don't want to end up like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we have similar genetics, I'm going to make changes. What do I need to do? So even though it's a very personal thing, I've never been a smoker, but sometimes you be around smokers and they're the worst ones to say to somebody else, oh my gosh, you're smoking, you're this, you're that. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you smoked for 30 years and now you quit. But the passion, I guess, the passion behind it, because they see how better they can be without smoking. That's what we're needing. We're needing that passionate side of people to come out and say, I was this way, and then I made changes, and now I'm like this, and my life is so much better enriched, and I have so much more energy. Those are the things that we want to be able to look at. So functional medicine is going to be able to look at all these different things with each person to say, you need this type of a program. You need this type of a timeline is going to be different for each person. For some people, it could take years for them to get into quality of health. For others, it's tweaking a few things and then putting them on the right path and being there to help guide them and being a good mentor and being the coach that they need, just to make sure, because we're gonna side a little bit. We're gonna go, oh well, it's only once. I'm gonna go do XYZ, or I'm gonna eat this. No one is saying we have to be perfect all the time, but it's just recognizing, what is your goal? What is it you want to do? How are we going to get there? And let's do it in I don't want to say the fastest way, but we want to do it in a way that's comfortable for you. For some people, when I would have patients that would come in and they would be either in a walker or in a wheelchair, if I said, okay, Mrs. Jones, get up and do, squats. It would be
Yeah.
not making any sense. So sometimes you have to start with the basics. And the very basic, it doesn't matter who you are, we all have to breathe, right? Every day we have to breathe, because we don't breathe, we die. So it's starting with breathing. Let's just breathe. And when people say, when I take deep breaths like that, sometimes I get a headache. And it's like, yay! Oh, that's good. That's not a headache. You're getting oxygen in your brain. And when people sit, like women are the worst, because if we had breasts growing up, we tend to do this as opposed to sit like this. So if we open up the rib cage, you're standing up or you're sitting up tall, then you breathe. I mean, think about these people who say, don't breathe. You got to breathe from the bottom. Don't breathe from. You want to make sure, because we only are using 25% of our vital capacity. So it's like short. But when you go deep and you're breathing that way, and then you hold it and then you let it out, count in, count out, that type of thing. And it's amazing when people go, oh, I hate when they make me breathe because I get so dizzy. It's like, oh my goodness, that's exactly why you need to do it. But it's educating. It's educating people, and they're starting wherever they are. When you have a patient who's so overweight they can't get up to walk, it's about breathing. And then the next thing is going to be, while they're sitting in a chair, you don't have to get weights, get some cans of whatever you have in your cupboard. Start with whatever you have. You are not there to compete with anyone. We're just there to make baby steps. Just baby steps. So I hope I answered the question in a roundabout way, but functional medicine is trying to be able to take each person individually and see how we can change the function of what their particular thing is. When I'm working with the brain, just because I do neurofeedback doesn't mean the person has a bad brain. You could have a slower brain. You could have a brain that you're just wanting peak performance. I have athletes that say, I'm in tip-top shape, but I want my brain to be, in tune and on fire when I'm doing whatever, basketball, running, golf, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And peak performance. That's what I do with the CFOs and CEOs, because their whole thing is talk, hurry. What do I need? Just give this to me. And it's like, we've got to make sure the brain is working correctly too. We got to make sure you're doing all these things that are going to help you achieve your next goal, your next whatever it is that you're trying to get to for yourself. So functionally, everyone is different. We are just trying to make sure that people can have the right path to follow, that it makes sense to them. And the next thing is understanding, if you're on medication, why are you on it? And is there a reason? Now, there are some people that have a condition, I 100% agree, they're going to have to be on for the rest of their life. I don't disagree with that at all. But you need to understand, as opposed to, oh, I have this symptom. I'm not a symptomologist. I have this symptom. I need a pill. That's what usually happens. You go to the doctor, you wait 45 minutes to get in to see them, and they walk in with their script. Okay, Mr. Smith, tell me what's going on. And the whole time they're sitting there thinking about what the pill is going to be. All right, here are 3 scripts. Get this filled at the pharmacy. I will see you in 3 months. We'll see how you're doing.
Yes.
That's not discussing what's going on with the patient. That's a symptomologist. Okay, anyone could do that. That's the reason why I knew me being an MD would not work. Now, backtrack. If I was 19 years old again, thinking about what would I love to do, I would definitely go. I would be a DO, and then I knew that I could be still doing the holistic side, but then I would be able to get I don't know what the right word is, the understanding that my education is important. When I talk to people about my education, I've been doing this for 25 years. And then, I've never stopped learning. I continue to go to school, and I'm a board eligible chiropractic neurologist. What does that mean? That means that I've done 3 more years after school of training to be able to work with the brain, to work functionally with patients. And with all of that, it's still, people go, oh, you're just a chiropractor. You're just cracking backs. No. It's that whole education thing. When we're in school, just a little bit of background here. When we're in school, I don't care if you're dental, you're medical, chiro, we all have to take the same basics. I have to still take anatomy, physiology, organic, inorganic, 1 and 2. I took all those. I graduated. I graduated with honors, with cum laude from getting my bachelor's in nutrition. That wasn't because I was taking BS classes. It was because I was taking information that I was going to be able to help patients forever. When you get into school, you have to go through a couple years of your, you know, spinal anatomy, microbiology, pathology, all the same classes. You have to pass those boards before you're able to go on to the next thing. As a chiropractor, if you can get through your boards, you have part 1, 2, 3. They may have changed it by now, but it used to be 1, 2, and 3 when I was in school. Then they came up with part 4, which is clinical. And then you have PT. And then you have state. So if you decide to go to a certain state, they may have their own test or however that is. But the difference is when a chiropractor finishes their education, if you go and compare the number of hours that we spend with neurology, what we spend with nutrition, it's a lot more than MDs. MDs have maybe 2 or 3 classes, and that's
Yeah.
it. And so our focus is a little bit different, right? And not to knock them down, it's just that their focus is on what? Medication. Their focus
Yes.
is what? Surgery. And if I ever need surgery, by golly, I'd need to have a good MD that's going to be there to do it. But
Hmm.
I'm talking about in school, when we get done, when we're able to graduate and we've passed all those parts of national boards, we can open up practice. An MD cannot do that. They have to go and finish up school, and then they do something called residency. And then from there, they're going to do different things. They're going to do a little 3-month here, 3-month there to determine what their focus wants to be, for them to be able to then finish in their residency and then start practice after that. So, if our education wasn't there, then why would we be allowed to start practice as soon as we graduate? See, that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense, right? It's kind of like, but it's not about competing. I don't understand why we all can't just work together, because we have parts that they don't have, and they have parts that we don't have. And so we should be able to have a conglomerate of bright minds to be able to say, how do we help this patient the best?
And
Does
let
this
me ask you this. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there isn't more communication in that field? And why is it that, this holistic side of things, this tailored approach to really customize a plan for someone, why is this considered so taboo even in today's world?
Well, I think if you're following an insurance model, you are not given, if you want to be a provider with an insurance company, let's say Medicare, for example, you're put on a time frame on how long you can spend with each patient. So you're not necessarily able to make the right decision. I wouldn't, no, let me take that back. Not saying the right decisions. You're not able to make a decision that might be the best for the patient.
Mm,
You are making a decision based on the insurance model. The insurance is telling you, hey, if you want to get paid, you're going to spend this much time with a patient. This might be the medications we want you to focus on if they have these signs and symptoms. And it's get in there, and get there and do it. So it's in out of the room, that type of thing. With someone who practices functional medicine, it messes up the insurance companies on how they want to think. They don't want you to spend that much time with a patient. They don't even know what the right codes are in which to be able to say, I'm going to practice functional medicine on Mrs. Jones. We've tried regular Western medicine and it has not worked. So now we're going to try this other approach. Mark Hyman, you familiar with him? He's an
yes, I am.
MD. Okay, so he has come to the other side. He's a functional medicine doctor, and he has no problem preaching about, hey, let's get your body working better, and let's make sure that there is a place for MDs. I am not saying that at all. There is a place for them, but why can't we all work together? He works with Cleveland Clinic, and he does not take insurance. Why is that? Part of the thing of being a doctor is we want to be able to help patients the best we can, and not being limited of, oh, I cannot order x-rays on Mrs. Jones because the insurance doesn't like that. Well, Mrs. Jones, you need an x-ray before we can proceed. Well, until my insurance okays it, then we can't do it. We can't move forward. Oh my goodness, that just doesn't make any sense to me. If you need a freaking x-ray or an MRI, you need to get it done. And there are places out there that I help my patients all the time, and they'll say, my doctor won't write me a script. Can you help me? 100%, I will help you. You'll have to pay cash for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be way discounted because of the difference between insurance and cash. But we've got to get you feeling better. I cannot see through your bones. I need to have that other information. I actually got, or I wasn't going to admit this, but I'll admit this now. I was not a good candidate as a provider for some insurance companies. Back in the day when I first started business, I thought I have to be a provider for insurance. How is anyone going to find me? So this is in a different state. So I was working with some of these groups that would have several different insurance companies underneath them in the umbrella. And they would say, okay, well, we need to have an interview with you to see if you're a right candidate. And they would say, what would you do with this patient? What would you do with that patient? I gave them all my answers. And they said, you're not a candidate for our insurance platform. I said, thank you. But my first thought was, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And then I thought, wait a minute, the insurance does not determine what kind of doctor I'm going to be.
Yes.
Insurance is not going to determine how I'm going to treat my patients. This is a blessing. And so that's when I started going into that. I can't be on that insurance company because they don't understand, why I'm trying to get a patient to do XYZ, or why I'm having a patient come less. But I refused to do certain things. Like I wanted to make sure I took x-ray on a patient if they came to me, because I would do an exam and then I would determine if they needed an x-ray. If they need an x-ray, I'm not moving forward with any treatment until I get an x-ray. Why? Because I need the x-ray. Okay. And they'd say, well, go ahead and do treatment. No, my whole thing is I'm going to do an exam. If I determine they need an x-ray, they're getting an x-ray. If you're not approving an x-ray, A, they can't be a patient, or B, they have to pay cash to get the x-ray so that I can do the x-ray. And they didn't like that. They said, you want to do x-rays on every patient. And I said, unless they bring one into me and they're having a problem and I'm checking for subluxations, 100%.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we don't want to do that. We don't think you should do that. And I said, well, who are you to determine that patient needed an x-ray or didn't?
Yes.
When I was in school, I had a girlfriend who was a few years ahead of me, a few trimesters ahead of me. And in clinic, you have to work on patients. And so everyone's always worried about, where am I going to get my patients? Where am I going to get my patients? So they usually start with family and friends. I didn't do that. I was like, my family and friends are not going to be the ones in my practice when I get out, right? I need patients who need my care, not people when I say, oh, I need to have an adjustment. Oh, I need an x-ray mark. I don't need that. So I always went out and found my own patients. But so my girlfriend was ahead of me. And so her dad was coming in to visit, and he was complaining of a neck injury. And the first thought is, oh, come here, I can fix that, right? Oh, come here, let me see what's going on. Let me palpate. And I looked at her and I was like, no, don't do that. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And she says, well, he was in a different state. She says, well, he's coming in to be one of my patients for clinic, but the appointment's not until tomorrow. And he starts complaining about this neck injury or neck issue. And I was like, don't do it. This is what we say to, we would be saying to our patients, just don't go someplace and have them start, working on you until they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
it's like a mechanic taking your car apart without actually understanding what the problem
it's
even
I'm
is.
just gonna go buy this, not even know if I can really need it, right? And so the next day they went to clinic. They had to go through the issue with clinic. Let me back up. Is what we're learning, and it takes forever. I remember we'd have to do an exam, and they'd take 5 hours. You have to do one part, go out in the hallway. The clinician would have to check you, mark it off, go back in, do the next part, and it was just like, oh my goodness. But it actually is a good thing, because you have to learn the different steps in order to get everything done, to get a thorough exam. She finished, got the exam done with her dad, took an x-ray. He had an anomaly on there that had she adjusted her father, she could have paralyzed him. And I look at that and I think, that's all I need. That's what happened to me when I was still in school, that I saw that and I thought, never will I be that person that says, oh, come here, it's okay. Oh, I know you. Come on over here. Let me start adjusting you. Never, never, never would I ever do that. That's a lesson. But there's so many people. I remember we would go to a party. You would be at a restaurant or a bar or something, and you'd say, yeah, I'm a chiropractor. Like, oh yeah, can you do my neck? you just want to look at them and think, oh my goodness, you just have no common sense. But that's where people get that idea. Oh yeah, can you just adjust me? It's like, you can come to the office, you can fill out forms, you can get an exam. If I determine you need an adjustment at that time, then I will adjust. And it's kind of like, I'm not a massage therapist, though I love them. I couldn't do what they do all day. But it's that whole thing about educating. I may make it look easy when I adjust. I adjust children. I love doing newborns. I would treat a patient through her pregnancy and try and be within the first 4 to 6 hours of birth, be able to adjust that patient, just that newborn, just with the fingertips. Oh my goodness. You see,
and what's the benefit of that for the newborn?
Well, think about it. A little baby has been balled up for 9 months. A lot of times, depending on how the delivery went, if it was a forceps, if it was how they get yanked out. Okay, let's just be frank, right? Their goal is to get yanked out there. There's the vacuum method. There are things that happen that these kids are coming out with a torticollis, meaning the neck is off to one side, and they'll grow out of it. They'll grow out of it, right? How many times? And it's kind of like how many times you see a kid. Sometimes they have to wear the helmets because they got the heads are very shapeable, at that time.
Yeah.
When they're first born. So being able to adjust and it's just the slightest touch, but you feel it. So I'm pretending like this is the spine, but when you're going down and you're feeling, you can feel where there's a difference there. If this baby's all balled up, a little baby that won't latch on to the mom right after they're born, the mother gets panicky. And I have helped so many moms are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. This baby is screaming. I don't know if it's getting any milk. When the mother is stressed, the baby gets stressed. And so it'd be like, I put the baby right here on the mom, and then I would just go through and I would say, oh, okay. And then I would take the neck. I mean, the moms sometimes go, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And I kind of I would lift up to see where the head is going, and I lift the baby up by the legs. They're not crying. I'm not hurting them, but I'm trying to just see where the direction is.
Yeah.
And then I've had so many moms go, oh my gosh, I can finally relax. My baby is drinking. My baby is latching on. But just think about it. They're all squished. They're all contained in a very small area, and then they're yanked out. And then they're like, okay, now grow, right? That doesn't always happen in the way that it should. So having the nervous system be stimulated in the right way, just to make sure that there's no interference, it's like, oh, beautiful. Yes, love it. Do you have kids yet?
I don't have kids, but we're
okay.
Thinking
When you
about
and your wife have kids, you need to make sure that you get that baby checked, or you fly to me and I'll do it for you. But you want to make sure that their brain is growing the way that it should. The nervous system is. It's just so much better for everybody. When babies have problems, when they're not drinking the way that they should, they're throwing up, or they're gut looks distended. Those are all things too with allergies. And we have to think about this. The baby's eating whatever the mom ate. If the mom had certain issues, gluten sensitivities, dairy sensitivities, whatever it was, that baby then can be passed on all of those different things that the mom's experiencing. And we don't think about that. And so we have to be able to say, oh, okay, or if there was a C-section baby, they don't have the natural inoculation of having through getting born through the birth canal, that they have those natural the protection. So there's a difference there sometimes when people say, were you a natural delivery or a C-section? Because sometimes there's more issues with gut. And so we want to make sure that we have all those things for the baby to get early on, so that they don't have issues later on. Does that make sense?
It does. And you see, I never even heard about any of this. And I think it goes.
They have classes. They have wonderful classes for those who just do pediatric chiropractic. And I'm telling you, it is the most rewarding thing when you take a newborn that's just, you could tell they're all stiff, and you just open up their airway so they can breathe better, and then they sleep, and you're just like, oh my goodness. I love it. I love it.
Well, I think it goes to the tune of so many other people, I guarantee, don't know about that, but they don't know about many of the things that we've talked about so far. Even when you talk about people who are like, oh, you're a chiropractor. Can you help me with my neck? Can you crack my back? Can you do all these things? We're looking for that quick fix.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
again, like we said, and by the way, I think you're a mind reader because you literally, as my questions came to mind, you just answered them and you went to the next and the next. And you said amazing things about so many MDs are amazing people. They're
Hmm.
great people. Like they're your friend, you love them, they're beautiful, like some of your patients have said, and you trust them. And it's not that they're doing the wrong thing in their mind, they're helping you in the best way that they know how, but that's
Right.
just the thing. When they go through school, what they learn as the how to is what the insurance
Very different.
companies and the pharmaceuticals want them to know and want them to learn. They're giving you what they believe is the best thing that's going to help you, but really it's suppressing the symptoms. When what we're talking about here is how can you change your everyday lifestyle? Baby steps, one
Right.
thing at a time. What's your goal? Let's create a custom approach for you.
And just because you have a custom approach too, I want to make sure that this makes sense, is sometimes you have to revisit it and say, okay, have we improved? What do we still need to change? Where are we at? Are we on the right path? So back to the MD thing real quick. The MDs are doing what they know, and they're doing what they have been trained. When you talk about somebody learning functional medicine, that's not taught in school. This is taught outside. Just like when I learned acupuncture, that was not taught in my chiropractic college. I learned that actually before I went to chiropractic school.
Mm.
So you have to be able to say, this is my baseline degree. Now, what do I want to have my specialty be in? What do I want to learn more so I can help more people? Any of these people that we talked about, Dr. Hyman, you can go and look up these MDs that are now moving over into the functional space. Is that they'll tell you, I have been a surgeon for so many years, and then I saw that there was a better way to treat people. I was an internist, I was an MD, I was a family practice, and so many things were not working for my patients because what they would their toolbox was limited to certain medications. You have to be willing to learn more. I admire anybody, MD, DO, DC, doesn't matter, who's taken that step and not a weekend course to be, a functional medicine doctor. This
Mhm.
can take years to go through and get all the classes and stuff done because there's so much information. What do you want to specialize in? Is it the gut? That can take 9 months just studying that alone. Can it be hormones? That can take a long time. It could be diabetes. It could be dementia. It could be thyroid. There's also a thing where they're all connected. So when people say, I specialize in XYZ, yes, but remember that has a component of all of these other things that go along together. Earlier, I said about the cholesterol. I'll tell you this real quick because
Yeah.
I have to make sure I get this out. Cholesterol is so important. We have so many fear factors of having high cholesterol. Cholesterol is going to make you have a heart attack. Please, please, please read the research. This is the thing about cholesterol. We all need it. We all need good cholesterol. 30 years ago, the healthy cholesterol ranges used to be 300. And then some pharmaceutical company came up with an idea that said, hey, I think we can sell more statins if we lowered that number to be around 200. Okay. So what did they do? They gave patients statin drugs to make sure that these cholesterol levels were lowered. But why do we need cholesterol? Cholesterol is not a bad word. We need cholesterol because we need it to make hormones. Okay. You need it for your brain. You need it for the lining of the meninges. You need cholesterol. So if you're depleting it, how are you going to create more? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me on why so many people are taking a statin. And then I say, where's your number? What's your number? Oh, my doctor is so happy. My number is 140. My number, I have patients. Oh my goodness. I just want to tell them to have a seat because we got to be careful on this one, that their cholesterol numbers are 102, 104. And I say, um, are we happy with that? Because their idea is that the lower the number, it's good, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not here to put down their MD. I'm trying to understand why their MD wanted that to be so low.
Yeah.
And then I went to a world renowned cardiologist and he says that my cholesterol should be low, the lower the better. And then I said, this is talking to a guy. I said, okay, I'm going to look at your other blood work. So I look at the other, because a lipid panel is its own panel. I want to see your other numbers. I look at the other numbers and I'm like, your testosterone is in the tank, because what do you need to make testosterone? Cholesterol. So you're creating your own problem. So then you think, what? You can go get a testosterone gel and that's gonna balance it out. It's not. I said you're gonna end up with man boobs. Excuse the vocabulary. With man boobs and muffin top. I don't care how much you work out. You're not understanding that you've got to have a healthy cholesterol level. 200 is okay. It's a good number. Okay. 300, when they start, it's just so hard to sit there and determine that. Sometimes genetics, 210 is a good number for that person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Never is 102, 104 a good number for anybody, because you are not making, we all need our hormones, men and women. Why we have testosterone just like you do, just different,
distribution.
we need to have that balance. And when that's all their focus is I'm looking at cholesterol, I'm looking at cholesterol, I'm looking at cholesterol. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, do you not let's take a step back, because I don't want them to be upset with their MD. I just want them to be educated so that they can make their own choice. If they choose to follow what the MDs, of course, you do what you got to do to make you understand, but please understand what the potential of these other issues if you don't take care of them. This is why I take care of men so much with the diabetes, is because they're having these issues and they're not understanding why when you hit a certain age, they're not as virulent as they were before. Mm-hmm. And it's like, let's look at your cholesterol. Well, what does my cholesterol have anything to do with it? It has a lot to do with it, because then that's going to affect your testosterone. So let's make sure that those numbers in a healthy, for your body to be making those healthy wise, so that you won't need to have, those little pills that perhaps I'm just saying there are things that can help, that can be natural, that doesn't need to be dependent upon making your cholesterol so low that that's just not a healthy, it's not a healthy. And when I'm talking about the brain, I'm working with the brain with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's so important that they have the healthy numbers for that, and I'm not saying don't sit around and just eat fat all the time. It's like healthy fat. What fat can you eat? I want you to have avocado. I want you to have coconut. I make this is my version of bulletproof.
Okay.
Bulletproof coffee.
Yep.
So in coffee, let's just talk about coffee for a minute. Dave Asprey, mm-hmm. He does the bulletproof. I love 1 cup of coffee every day. So what do? I don't always get his coffee, but if I get whatever coffee, I want to make sure it's organic. Why? Why do I want to make sure it's organic? Because there's a lot of coffee out there that has mold in it, natural mold. And unless you're getting, higher quality coffee, you're probably getting mold in your coffee. What I always do with my coffee in the morning when it's brewing is I put a pinch of aluminum-free baking soda, just a pinch. I put that in my coffee cup. Why do I do that? Because coffee is acidic, and I'm trying to create more alkalinity. So I'll put alkaline. When I have my little creation with my coffee, I put a shaker of cinnamon. I put grass-fed butter, a little pat of butter, and then I put a spoonful of raw coconut.
Wow.
And then I put it in the blender and mix it up. But I do my pinch of aluminum-free baking soda. And I've been doing that for years. And people go, that is so weird. Do you taste it? No, I don't taste the baking soda, but I want my coffee. Either you buy, I ran out of the coffee that was low acid. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, until I get more, I'm going to do this. And then I just never got any more. And I just keep putting in just a pinch, little pinch.
What's the baking soda do?
Baking soda it makes it alkaline, because coffee itself is acidic. So depending on where you're going to go and get your coffee, there's wonderful coffee out there that's already low in acid. But if you're getting, if you're going to a Starbucks or if you're getting something, I like to have a little bit more alkalinity in there.
And just a pinch will give you what you need?
Yeah, I just do a pinch because otherwise, if you drink 3 cups a day, you'll have 3 pinches. I
Yeah.
used to carry a little container of baking soda in my purse until the lid came off one day, and then
Oh
I
no.
did that. But I would get water, and um, I don't like tap water, and
Yeah,
I'm trying not to be a snob about it. But when it smells funny, I just don't want to
can't
put
do
that
it.
in my body. When people go, "Oh yeah, would you like water?" and I'm like, "Ugh, bottled, please."
Yeah.
I don't have a problem paying for it. I just don't like the smell of funky water.
Yeah.
And when people say, "Oh, this is Lake Michigan water," I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't make me like it anymore." But I would put a little bit of baking soda in my water, and then stir it up. But yeah, until my container broke, and then I just never.
You learned your lesson.
I
Yeah.
learned my lesson because I ruined a purse, and and it was just awful, and I just never did it again. But I have a kitchen in my office in the other room, and I have the aluminum free baking soda, and I have it in a container, and then I just take a pinch out,
I'm
and I
gonna
have it
Google
at
that.
home. So wherever I go, that to me is my little, okay, what am I planning on doing? What am I going to do today? Okay, you want coffee? Great. Let's put a little bit of that's just what I do with the baking soda. But
Well, you've shared so much today that just about like your background, the background of the industry as a whole. You've given actionable tips of what people can do. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, like I want to explore more of this." And I know some of them actually want to explore more of this with you. And you're a certified health practitioner that helps people from all over the country, not just Illinois. And I guess my question is, when people reach out to you and they talk to you about what that looks like, what does it look like to be a telemedicine patient with yourself?
so the first step is I don't know if everyone is a good fit. Okay. And so I don't want to mislead anyone that I would be the only one that can help them. So I always want to do kind of a discovery call to determine, am I the right person for you? I would like to think that I am for a lot, but I mean, we got to take egos out of it and say, what's the best thing for this patient, right? So the very first step I do is I'll do a phone consult with them. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 15 minutes. It just depends on what we get talking about. If we determine that we're going to move forward, then the next step would be, if they have blood work that's current, I would like to use that blood work, because blood is blood. But if it's not all the right panels that I'm looking for, then let's get the additional panels so that I can have a big picture baseline of what it is that I'm looking for. I'm able to order blood from anywhere in the United States. I also do stool samples, saliva samples. It just kind of depends on what it is that we're looking for and where our issues are. I will tell you this too. The biggest thing that I found over the last couple years is that someone may be a candidate because they have a gut issue. My gut's not working. Certain foods makes me feel bloated, or it burns with acid reflux, those kind of things. The biggest thing we have to understand is sometimes we're not going deep enough. So I want to make sure this makes sense. We don't want to do the same thing that the MDs are doing with just masking, because we want to be able to say, what is the cellular level telling us about your condition? Once the cellular level is healed and in better health, then you can start working on all those other issues that somebody has. If I go just to that issue, then I'm missing this. There's a big area in there that I'm missing, that this can keep recurring because we have not dealt with the cellular level.
Mm.
So that's very important that I work with. And that's why I do some of the testing that I do, because I want to make sure, do you have inflammation? Then let's deal with it. Inflammation is one of the biggest killers, because when you have inflammation in the brain, also dementia and Alzheimer's, that's when the brain tends to deteriorate. If you've ever
Mm.
seen a brain, they have pictures, but obviously the person has to be no longer with us. You have a healthy brain and you have a dementia brain. When you look at the two side by side, one is shriveled and short and smaller. Doesn't mean it was a child. It's meaning because of the years of inflammation and the things that were going on, that has actually shrunken that particular brain.
Wow.
There's different areas of the brain that has to do with speech, that has to do with memory, that has to do with emotions. And where that is in the brain, where it's getting affected, is going to determine what, how that patient is going to be presenting. So when I'm dealing with any kind of a patient, I want to always start at what is the lowest common denominator that we can be able to help. If they've had years, I've done functional medicine, I've done this with MDs, I've done this for 15 years, and we're still not getting to where I need to, that tells me we're not doing the cellular level yet. We've got to hit that cellular level so that all these other things that you're doing will work. And I'm not saying these things were bad, but I'm just saying we've got to make sure we're getting the foundation that is going to be working so that everything else can have a better chance of having the good results that we're looking for.
I love that. That's incredible. Where's the best place for people to learn more about that and reach out to you?
My website would probably be the easiest. And then there's a contact on that website form. And then I will get back with you myself. I won't have anyone else do it because they won't know what questions to ask. And my website is www.northshorehealthsolutions with an S at the end.com. And my office is in Winnetka, Illinois. So you can look me up that way, or feel free to give me a call. And my phone number is 847-715-9060.
Awesome. I'm going to have all that information in the description or the comments, guys, wherever you're watching and listening. Go check those out. Check out Dr. Kim's website because she dropped a lot of knowledge today, as well as possible next steps for you if you want to explore more into this world of functional medicine. Dr. Kim, thank you for coming on the show, sharing your story, your wisdom, and really just enlightening us with the other choices that we can make in order to live longer lives, but not just longevity, but better quality lives for the years that we are living. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
For you right-brained people, you've got the strategies, you've got the things that you can do, you've got the knowledge that you need in order to understand more about this landscape of health and the choices that you have. And for you left-brained people, you've got all the science and the knowledge and the wisdom that backs all of this up. But remember what I said at the beginning, a lot of people go for the quickest solution, especially the business owners, the CEOs, the busy people. But let's face it, we're all busy. It's not always the quickest solution that's the best solution for your longevity, for your quality of life, so that you can spend more time with the people that you love in your life, with your children, your grandchildren, with your family, with your friends, with working on your purpose if it's your business or your mission that you're working towards. Go for the option that's going to present you with the best life long term. And that's what we talked about here today with Dr. Kim. Information in the description or the comments to reach out to Dr. Kim, to go to her website, and the fee for the show. I hope you took something away from this. I'm sure that you did. We didn't run ads. We didn't have sponsors because we didn't want to interrupt all the wisdom that Dr. Martin was dropping on you. So if you did take something away, share this show with one person who could use what we talked about here today. Thank you so much for watching. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.